All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to the 1% podcast. This one is really selfish for me because I just want to dig into this incredible man's mind. And I only just saw it because it popped up on your bio. This is it, Ireland's first Olympian. We have an Olympian in the room. He's got his voice back a little bit more for the podcast, but honestly, having Darren on the podcast is just incredible for me. So welcome to the podcast, man. How you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, and I appreciate the very kind intro. I don't deal too well with compliments. I'm a pretty normal guy, so I do appreciate it. Thank you.
It's so hard, isn't it? When someone goes, "Oh, you look really good," and you're like, "Thanks."
Yeah.
But honestly, man, if anyone doesn't know you, and if you got in a taxi, who are you? Who is Darren? What do you do?
Honestly, if anyone ever asks what I do, I just say I'm a personal trainer and online coach. Because that's first and foremost, and I don't think people don't really understand this, is I've been coaching for 10 years. I've only been established as a well-known bodybuilder for 2, because quite honestly, my passion and what I actually want to do is coach. I just happen to be quite good at bodybuilding.
And I think the nice thing about that, it just sets the realistic time frame of things. Like, you've been showing up every day for 10 years plus, and it's only, like you say, in the last 2 years where, okay, it's paying off.
Yeah, well, I guess it hasn't really been 10 years of me being a bodybuilder. I'll be honest, I did take quite a lot of time away from it in the middle. I would say I was a recreational bodybuilder until maybe 2019. I was probably a recreational bodybuilder, but I was always in love with fitness and nutrition. Coming from a sporting background, falling into the world of bodybuilding, but more so, like, I got into it and I realized I'm not someone who could work a desk job. And I did my university, my master's, all of that stuff. And I was like, God, I can't sit behind a desk. And then I kind of found personal training and all that by accident, having been injured from sport, kind of getting into it, and then just getting a job as a personal trainer, and then discovering nutrition and falling in love with the nutrition side of things. So that's always been my passion, is the sort of the more nerdy side of bodybuilding. And, anyone that knows me and is close to me knows that, like, that is my real passion. Is I love biomechanics. I love, nutrition. I'm always doing nutrition courses, trying to stay up to speed with things. So that's where my real passion is. And I've always done that. I haven't really applied it to myself the whole time, I did take quite a long time away from, like bodybuilding. I don't think I really started bodybuilding properly until sort of 2019. Okay. So then I was kind of like, I would train and I would eat somewhat healthy, but I wouldn't really be 100% on it or anything.
Yeah, I guess you kind of answered the topic a little bit of, like, university and kind of your degrees and stuff like that. But I guess kind of dragging it back to kind of maybe like high school kind of things, like, what was it like growing up? Because obviously in Ireland and things like that, growing up in Ireland, what was home life like and things like that? And then obviously the progression going forward with your life.
I was brought up to be an athlete. I'll be honest.
That's good.
Both my parents were professional athletes. As soon as I could walk, I was in gymnastics for flexibility. As soon as I could hold a hockey stick, I was in junior hockey from the age of 4. I was playing football because my dad was a professional footballer, so I was doing that. And they were my 2 main sports. But any type of sport, you name it, I did it. I just loved sport. I loved being outdoors. I wasn't a kid who played computer games or sat inside. I just was always outdoors, kicking a ball, doing something like that. So that was my life. I was set up to do that. I played the highest level of hockey. I played the highest level of, eventually when I went to high school, I started playing rugby just because my friends played, turned out to be quite good at it, played that at the highest level. And that's kind of where my future was going. Like, all my life decisions were made around sport. Like, university was based on sports scholarships, where I could play the best level. That decided where I would go to university, all these things, and life took a complete 180 when I was sort of 23 with injuries and stuff. And I retired from sport, at the age of 23.
Yeah, man.
So that was kind of like, it was like starting over from everything and kind of reassessing. And looking back, is the best thing that ever happened to me, because it actually led me to where I am now, because I don't know where I would be if, I kind of always just, I guess, kind of got by quite easy because I was good at sport and never really had to do anything else, so that's kind of got me to where I was.
What sport was it like if you carried on? What sport caused the most injuries for you in a sense, and which one do you think you would be doing to this day if it wasn't for the injuries?
Probably the hockey. Like I was just injury prone person. I don't think I ever completed a full season without a serious injury. I had like 11 hamstring tears throughout my hockey career, broken bones, everything, dislocated shoulders, a couple of knee operations, things like these. Most of them are from hockey. A couple, surprisingly, only a few, and not major ones from rugby. But I actually stopped playing rugby first due to I had a couple of dislocations in my left shoulder, and then ended up doing an AC joint tear. And that kind of finished me off from rugby, and also along with the cruciate ligament injury, I just wasn't able to play to the way I was going to be, and kind of being warned, what would happen next if it happened again, all these sort of things. And it was like, well, I only ever really played rugby because my friends played, and I did it for fitness, for hockey. Hockey was always my main sport. So
that's an interesting one, because it's like we had very similar upbringings. Like I'm like, if you didn't really do fit sport in my family, you kind of had nothing to talk about. And it's the same sort of thing. I did rugby to kind of county level. My cousin plays for England now, same sort of thing. But field hockey, I'm guessing field hockey, right?
Yeah.
What kind of because that's unique, right? Like my previous sport was kayaking. So people are like kayaking, field hockey. It's not like rugby, right?
Like the polar opposite to like rugby or bodybuilding. The most field hockey is more kind of well known on an international level as a female sport, but it's it is very big in the male sport as well, and just it's kind of it's more cult than main.
And then I guess sorry, interrupt you. I guess at 23, kind of what happened then for you, really? Because obviously, I guess it's a hard thing, right? Like you're known as the sporty guy, the rugby guy, the like. Do you feel like, how did it go on from there? Do you feel like you lost kind of like a part of you, or?
I did, definitely, but at the same time, I kind of made the decision myself. I suffered this injury, the AC joint injury, which was going to leave me out for basically that I was told by the doctors, it's going to be, you can have an operation, you can leave it in a sling for a couple of months, see how it goes, but you're never going to have the same mobility in it. And at the time, initially, I was devastated. I didn't know what I was going to do. This was me, had been me my whole life. But a couple of months into it, I think about 3 months in, I was starting to do rehab, and I sort of got into the gym a little bit, and I was training, and I met some people down the gym, and I kind of started getting into the training, and I had already got into kind of fitness as such, and I'd been doing like spinning classes, and I started doing my own PT qualifications and stuff like this. So I'd already started slipping into this world a little bit. And I kind of realized, what? I didn't really know why I was doing what I was doing. And all that time, that I was playing sport to be my identity and for people to like me. And that's all I kind of really knew. But having got away from it for a while, I kind of seen there was a lot more to the world, a lot more to me. And on reflection, I kind of achieved everything I could possibly achieve in my sport.
Yeah.
At 23, that sounds crazy, but I had 10 years playing at senior level club. I've represented my country, done everything I could really do. And I was told, it was career-ending injury, but there was a potential chance. 5 months down the line, I did get the all clear. Whether I would have been 100% again, I don't know, but I did get the all clear. But I took the decision with my parents to tell my club and tell my country and stuff that I wasn't able to come back.
Yeah, damn. I think it's nice though, the fact that you have that, I guess very similar to kind of like you said with bodybuilding, you have that separation period to be like, actually, like, what's the why behind it? What's my why behind it, sort of thing. And then after that kind of 5 month period, when you gave that notice in, where did you go from there? Like, did you go into kind of the coaching aspect then, or?
I was working I'd done my sort of qualifications to be a personal trainer. I just finished my master's in international business. At the same time, I did my qualifications to be a PT, and I was working as a spinning instructor, and I was working in a sort of private one-to-one personal training place with two guys who really got me into it and allowed me to kind of get into the nutrition side of things. I started going more into nutrition, and I applied for a distance learning nutrition master's, so I was getting into that side of things. Outside of that, I'll be honest, I was a fuck up. I was partying. I didn't know where I was going in life on a personal level. Really, you know, I did a lot of partying. I did a lot of drugs. I'll be honest. I just did everything really. You know, I experienced a lot of life, and none of it productive, but it taught me a lot of lessons.
But man, I think sometimes, like, what's that, like mid-20s for you sort of thing, like going mid to late. Mate, that's what your 20s are for. You're supposed to fuck up and you're supposed to make all these mistakes and things like that. Like, if you don't do it then, you're like, it's better doing it then than it is to, cool, midlife crisis sort of time period.
That's exactly what it was. But at the same time, the world was my oyster at that point. You know, I was kind of like, I had never really lived where I was from, and I was back home living in Cork. I'd spent a lot of time in Dublin, a lot of time abroad. And then at sort of the end of sort of being 23, turning 24, I'd been in the gym a little bit. Someone told me about doing a bodybuilding show. I went and did one, and then I ended up signing with like BSN Supplements as like an ambassador or something.
Oh yeah.
From there, they had invited me to go to Body Power, which was my first kind of experience of this world. And that's actually where I met my current wife, was that year.
Oh, no way.
Body Power. We just met each other then. We didn't like nothing. It was a year later or something. We ended up getting together and stuff. But I bet that's where I met her. But at that time, I was like deciding what I was going to do next in life. Like, I was going to either move to London, move to New York. I was kind of deciding there, and I subsequently ended up deciding I would move to Dublin or to London.
Yeah. And then yes, that's pretty, it's funny that you say that, because like from kind of, I guess, like you say, like very young age, from kind of 12, 14, you're a full-time athlete, you're a professional athlete. So you never really had that 18, 20-year-old party club. Like at that age, you're a full-time athlete still. And I was exactly the same. I went through that 18, 20-year-old phase where I was still competing for the UK still. And it was only after that you're like, fuck, I've not really had a life. And then you have like that blowout time, and then you reestablish kind of like, oh, this isn't for me sort of thing. And then obviously you drifted into that. I can relate to it massively. It's so interesting when you look back on it. And then I guess so you moved to London. What did you do in London?
So I planned my move to London, and I had sort of started building my online business at this point. You know, and I started working with someone else as well at the time. With him, we kind of joined, and I was had at that point, it went from maybe I had like 20, 30 of my own to working with him, and I was managing maybe like 70 online clients. And I was moving over there on the sort of, I was going to get a place with my cousin who was already out there. A lot of people maybe this will be Chris Spearman. But I had started dating Becky, who's now my wife then, and we hadn't been dating that long, but just, I don't know how it came about. She ended up being like, you know, come live with me, and that's where things kind of went to the next level with us, and it was kind of really, really fast from there with us, you know. Pretty much a year after that, then we were engaged. So
how long have you been together now? It's quite
we've been together just over 7 years.
And then married 6, something like that.
6, yeah.
Damn, holy crap. And then your lives just, ever since then, it all just kind of blurs together pretty well, sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. So there's a whole series of like fuck ups and stuff in between, but yeah, one thing led to another, and you know, we ended up in Dubai. And because obviously you've been out here for quite a long time now before the hype. So I guess what was the like that? Because obviously when you came out here, it was probably still pretty dusty and deserty as well. Yeah, like when we first moved here, the fitness industry wasn't big here. There was like we joke, I think we were probably the first kind of 2 UK kind of fitness people here.
Yeah.
I believe I think Rob Sharp, if anyone knows who he is, he was a WBFF pro.
Yeah.
He was here at the time, but other than that we were like the first 2. It wasn't an in thing to do or anything like that. So it was very, very different here then.
What made you kind of jump? Obviously, it was like a mutual decision for both of you, right? Sort of thing. Like, what made you kind of think, like, screw it, let's go to the Middle East?
So at the time, Becky was working sort of in education in a role that was more in consultancy. She had been a teacher, and then she was drafted to this consultant role with a company that was kind of involved with designing the curriculum for English primary schools and how the English language is taught. But a part of their company was management of schools, like how to manage a school from the top down.
Yeah.
And Becky was head of like the international part of that. So she was quite high in the company. I think she was like third in the company after the owner and the director. She was the next in line, like there. So she managed international, which meant going to like China and Malaysia and stuff like this to expat schools, you know, and sort of team management, teaching them how to manage the school, along with like teach them how to teach phonics, which is the English language, and things like that. So at some stage, while we were still in London, she was asked to go to China to an expat community.
Yeah.
And there. So we decided we'd make a holiday of it. We'd go for like, she had like 3 days work, and we said we'd go for like 10. So we did. We were out there while she was there, you know, so she got a couple of job offers. She's always getting job offers to be like assistant head or head of these schools, and the money and stuff was very good and all this, and kind of planted a seed, I guess, without us really knowing.
Yeah.
And we're back in London. We had literally just got engaged, and we were sat there one night kind of just, I think, thinking about the future, and we're like, right, we're living in Watford. We're both earning decent money, but we don't see a future here, how we're going to build a future here. Like, we were sort of just on the breadline, you know, we weren't really making any substantial savings or anything like that. We were kind of living month to month, and we couldn't see a way forward. And we just like, why don't we, you know, move abroad? Why don't you take one of these? I can do my job anywhere. Why don't you take one of these jobs abroad? And we were just like, where? And we kind of looked, and Becky had her sister-in-law's sister was out here working as a teacher.
Yeah.
So we spoke to her. She was like, do it, come out here, blah, blah, blah. So she set up like a couple of interviews that week. Yeah. First interview she did, she got offered a job. So we were like, yeah, off we decided we were getting married. This was June. We were getting married in July in Greece. So we were actually spending the whole month of July in Greece. And we agreed to be in Dubai on the, I think like the 14th or 15th of August.
Jesus.
Pack up our lives, pack up our home in Watford in like the space of like 2-3 weeks, send everything to Dubai, to Greece, all that. And yeah, it was a very, very spur of the moment, like just, yeah.
But they're the best ones, aren't they? You're just like, fuck it, let's go.
The plan then was just like, let's go there for 1-2 years, you know, make enough money to come back, buy a house, you know, do what we're supposed to do. But we came out here and just, this has just been our home since.
Yeah, because how long's that been now?
6 years.
So like, is that the same sort of time frame where you kind of, I guess, drifted into kind of bodybuilding more as like I'm a bodybuilder now sort of thing? Or how long's that been now? Or like less, right? Because COVID, you said it was about COVID.
Yeah, so I didn't really, at that point I had stopped kind of bodybuilding. I had no aspirations of competing or anything. I came here, I had a job offer with like Fitness First here as like a management role and stuff, but it was taking so long, and just randomly someone invited me to go train in Train SF one day. And then someone who was training there, who was Irish, was like, oh, introduced himself. He was working for like a PT company that worked out of Train SF. Okay. Brought me up to meet the owner. I hit it off with him straight away. They offered me a job pretty much there and then. So I started working as a PT out of Train SF. You know, the money here was very good as a PT. And I was doing that and just kind of ticking along and kind of working in the fitness industry here for a couple of years. And then in 2000, then I started getting back into online coaching around that point, because I had just stepped away from it at that point. I had just stepped away from doing any online coaching, and I got back into it and I started doing it again, building that up while still PTing, and then slowly reducing my PT to like nothing and just online.
Yeah.
And I started getting back into my own sort of fitness and bodybuilding, maybe aspirations of competing. And I competed in like 2018 again for the first time and did terribly. And it was around that point that I met Jamie DeRigo, and he helped me massively, kind of just got me my head straight with things, and sort of turned me into, like, as he jokes, like the time a robot in terms of everything I did. And 1 year later I went back and competed, having placed last in 2 pro qualifiers in 2018. I went back in 2019 and won the overall and won my pro card.
Damn, crazy, man, crazy. And then from there, that was it. Like, so because that was in the States, wasn't it?
2019 in New Zealand is where I won mine.
Oh, your pro card. Okay, cool. Yeah. And then when did you get your qualification for Olympia? Was that what shows was that?
It was the San Antonio Pro last year in sort of 2021. So it was like 14 months ago from now, because obviously we had a longer year because of COVID and everything. It was like a 14-month season to this Olympia. Yeah.
So you got your pro card in New Zealand, what year?
2019.
Okay. And that's kind of when, I guess, probably just before that, right? When you met Jamie, that was like that boom, light bulb moment sort of thing. Like, I'm going all in on this sort of thing. Damn. So not long, man. Not long at all. Like, on the grand scheme of things.
And I think even at that point when I won my pro card, like, I don't think I was, it's kind of since then, since 2019, things have really clicked for me. And I've, like, when I won my pro card, I won it at, I think it's about 186 pounds.
Yeah.
2019, we're 2020, and I competed, like, I stepped on stage at the Olympia at 231 pounds.
Jesus, damn.
So it's what, 40 something pounds heavier.
It's a lot of weight. Yeah. And Jesus, so what was your, I said this is going a little bit ahead, and then you had to weigh in at 215. What was your cap?
222. I'm literally like a centimeter above.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like I'm just above the cap there, so I just about make it into the next one. Otherwise,
I see. Now I feel I can get the inside scoop on Olympic, because Cal hasn't posted his next vlog yet, I don't think, of your prep. So you but you got down to, what was, did you have to dig hard to get down to that 220? I obviously like you were peeled, and I was like, but like, what was it like leading into kind of that last week to kind of get off that extra bit of weight?
We pushed quite hard from maybe like 4 or 5 weeks out.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting at like mid 230s.
Yeah. Wow.
Knowing I need to weigh in at 222, which for me was like, the goal was always to try and fly around 220, 221.
Yeah.
So we pushed hard, and I won't lie, this was probably the hardest prep I've ever had in terms of, there were some very hard days for me towards the end, very, very, very tough, where I questioned why I was even doing it. But I think part of that comes down to the kind of the mental preparation I had going into it. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this prep or not, with some personal reasons I had during the year and stuff. I wasn't fully in, I don't think. I guess there was also a bit of the imposter syndrome for myself. Not like, I never really thought I belonged there, because it's not something I ever really wanted.
Yeah.
So I wasn't one of those people that's like literally been for the last 10 years like dreaming of being on the Olympia stage. I went to America to do that show with the aim of like, if I can be a top 5, that'd be brilliant for me. And then, after these shows, I'll probably call it a day with my own competing and just focus on my coaching, because and then, plans change. I won the show. So I think going in, it's hard. Like, I think in the back of my mind somewhere, I was like, I was always a bit like, I don't deserve this, because I never really wanted it. So there was parts of time in this prep where it got really hard, where it was hard for me to justify how I was feeling when I didn't even know if I really wanted to be doing it. But it was definitely quite a dig towards the end. Food was low, output was high. I wasn't much of a human to be around. But ultimately that period that we pushed hard, led to having that final week before the show to just be able to do what we needed to do, rather than be trying to chase away. Because when I landed in Vegas, a week out, I was the lightest weight I've been in 3 years. I was 218 pounds.
Wow. Shit.
Well, that says a lot.
Yeah, that's insane. I think what's lovely about that is that how transparent you are about it. And I think because obviously you're sat here as an IFBB pro, as an Olympian and things like that. And I think when people see it from the outside, and I think sometimes it's what I think is amazing, like, again, like the reason kind of like, again, I got you on here is that you're just very honest and genuine. I think you get like a lot of IFBB pros and things like that that almost just use the title as like they're God. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing that's probably out there. But you're very humble. And I think when it comes to that imposter syndrome, you do deserve to be there, like anyone else. And I'll always say that, like, because when you see your work ethic on a day-to-day basis, 100%, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that's funny. I obviously people tell me that, but for me, that day-to-day basis, that's just what I love doing. You know, if I wasn't competing, and that's the way I'd be. Okay, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't be doing the depths of the end prep, you know, and I'd probably enjoy a few more meals off here and there. But I love the structure and the training part of things. I love. That's just what I do. So, I don't see that as a sacrifice or anything like that. You know.
No. And like you said, like you've been into nutrition and biomechanics from way back, right? Because this even comes back to like everything, like learning how to attack down the wing, learning how to do this. When do you eat for hockey practice and things like that? Like that stem back years and years and years. People don't kind of see.
Yeah. Although I'll be honest, back in my sporting days, I was.
Oh, you can get away with it a lot more, can't you?
Yeah, and I was someone who was like without being like talking about it. I was someone who was very talented. And I wasn't as dedicated to that as I am to this. You know, I got away with a lot. You know, I drank and partied. I drank and partied 5 to 7 nights a week when I was playing international level sport. You know, I had a beer belly on me, and some parts of me looks back and wishes I wished I knew a bit more about nutrition and looking after myself back then. And I think I probably wouldn't have had the injuries I had and things like that, and would have had a far better, you know, career, and I could have been really someone in that in sport. But
but then I kind of like I was very much the same with kayaking as well, like because you were kind of like, it's probably the only time where I was like, I was just good at it. Like I didn't do anything fancy, I was just kind of all right at it. And then a lot of time for us, it was a lot of technique. Like if you were technically just very fucking good, that could outweigh a lot of like, oh, you had a couple of beers or you have a couple of bad meals. If you can perform technically really well from like a skill point of view, 100%. But like when it comes down to like bodybuilding, it's what you do, 24 hours before the next training session. And then it's the next 24 hours leading into the next session. Because like realistically, you're only in the gym for 2 hours. So it's like with sport, it's so weird to kind of like, I don't know, defend bodybuilding, how it's more intense than actually just like sport, which I'm not taking away from any sport at all, but it kind of is.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's like, you know, I think with sport, if you've got the talent or the genetics, you can still go quite a long way. Obviously, I think in bodybuilding, you see, you know, the guys with the genetics, but if they don't have the work rate and they're not doing the work that's the outside, you know, they're not going to bring the condition which you need and stuff like that. So they won't ever make it. Like bodybuilding is often a lot like, you know, the greats in bodybuilding are the ones who have the genetics and the work rate, you know, and I say, like, I'll be honest, like I'm just someone who has the work rate. You know, I've got a long way in with my work rate. I don't believe I had the best genetics for it. I think that shows from a couple of years ago where I was at. But I have the work rate. And I think when you get the likes of Flex Lewis and Derek Lunsford and Chris Bumstead, they're the guys who have the genetics and the same level of work rate.
Yeah, 100%. And like, again, like it shows, doesn't it? It just shows, like when you see these physiques, you're like, it does just fucking blow you away. It's as simple as you look at it, you're like, that is God stood on a stage. Like it's insane. And especially obviously the difference is you've actually seen them, like you can touch them, so you know exactly how dense that muscle is, how 3D it really is, and shit like that.
The reality is mate, backstage at the Olympia with like 50 other guys who've all won pro shows, is like the majority of them are that. It's like you're just looking at the best of the best. It's like, you know, often you go to a show and you're like, oh, there's like, oh, that guy's pretty good. And you're like, oh no, that guy's. It's literally like, he's good. Fuck, wow, he's good. You're just like, this is ridiculous. You know, like there's a guy who I know, who won 2 pro shows recently, and he'd been in Dubai, a French guy. And I seen him backstage, and I kind of know him when I spoke to him. I seen him, and I was like, holy crap, he looks amazing today. I'm like, this guy could be top 10 today for sure.
Yeah.
Then when it came down to it, like, he placed somewhere behind me. I don't know where he was, but he was behind me. I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
You know?
But then also it goes to show how fucking good you are. Like, there's a compliment. You don't have to reply to it. It's fine. But it does go to show that those, like, yeah, great. Like the work rate, like it's the seconds, the hours you put in every day, every week, every month, every year, it all leads down to those moments, things like that. It's like, yeah, it's as simple as, like, I know that I know giving you a compliment, so it's fine. But I guess obviously when you are like, it's obviously interesting kind of talking about the biggest bodybuilding show in the world. That was the biggest show in the world to this day by far. That was the biggest Olympia where anyone, like, if you looked at the open, the top 10 classic guys, you're like, yep, you can pick the top 4 maybe, but then you're like, anyone could have just fallen behind it. What was how was it? Like, how was it, like, the experience to be the best in the world and to be there?
Honestly, it was amazing. Like, it's a weird one, because I'm someone, and like I've said this numerous times, like, I love the whole process until the stage. Usually this is the first time that I've ever loved being backstage, being on stage, and had no nerves whatsoever. Amazing. I was like fully chilled, really enjoyed the whole time. I jokingly, I think it was when I came off stage after doing my first individual presentation. I'm sure when I walked off the stage down the steps, it was yours, was like, he gave me a fist bump, like, good job. And I jokingly went, I was like, fuck me, that's the first time I've never fucked that up. I didn't shake, I didn't wobble, nothing, I was just like, it was so relaxed, and which is amazing, because it made me just appreciate every moment of it, enjoy every moment of it. And just like, I think it was the first time since qualifying for the Olympia that I fully took it in, that this is where I was and I've achieved this, you know.
Amazing, especially at such a big show, man. I think that when you can be content and just absorb it, and like you said, you're going in against, it's not like a normal Olympia, right? Where you've got 30 guys or 20 guys. You're going in with 50 this time because of the extra time with qualifications. When you can go in with, I think maybe you went in probably just like almost just no expectations. I'm just going to do me. I brought the best me, and that's all that fucking matters. And you just sucked in every moment.
Yeah. Although I won't lie, the morning, a few hours before the show, I was a little panicky because I had a few issues with my stomach and stuff. But, you know, we rectified that, and I just enjoyed the day from then.
Amazing, man. And then I guess kind of like post-show, how did it feel? Because everyone says, oh, you know, post-show's tough and things like that. Obviously, I know you got the Vegas lurgy and things like that. So we
I thought I had avoided it. I avoided it for about a week, and I just yeah, usually I have a bit weird post-show. This time I was, again, just chilled. I just took everything in and very relaxed, you know. And I think maybe because I had massive clarity post-show of where I want to be, and, you know, having done the show and enjoyed it so much, it kind of gave me that this is where I belong and I deserve it. And, you know, actually, this is what I want. And, you know, I want to be here again next year. So I was literally, plans are in place already for getting there again next year, improving. I think one thing that was massive for me this year that's really given me a love for bodybuilding back is, you know, I spent the last 14 months holding back because, you know, I'm already quite big, and making the weight for me, we thought would be difficult. So I spent my whole off season sort of dieting as such, you know, no off-plan meals, nothing, you know, constantly like never pushing any form of cycle. Spent most of the off season on TRT, food average, you know, but weight was still up near like just shy of 270. So
yeah,
you know, I was like, oh, I can't really grow. So, and being someone who, as I said, loves bodybuilding, and, you know, you see me train, I love training hard, I want to be stronger, and almost like holding myself back for the year. But then, you know, making the weight out the way I did, you know, doing nothing drastic to make, other than like pushing my body quite hard leading into it. So doing no saunas, doing nothing like that, and then ended up weighing in like 5 pounds under the cap.
Wow.
You know, and then having Callum tell me that, you know, we can legitimately put 10 pounds of muscle on your frame this year and still make weight. He was like, I can still get you to make weight with 10 more pounds of muscle. So I'm like, okay, fuck, I can go all hell for leather again at this. And
yeah, man.
That gets me excited.
Good.
So now I'm like raring to go again, which is a way I haven't felt in a long time. So I enjoyed my time post show. I just, you know, I'm always pretty real with myself, and I'm like, right, I was in Vegas for 2 more days after the show, so checked into a really nice hotel, you know, just spent the time with my wife, no training, nothing, just relaxed, you know, traveled home, long travel home, then obviously got sick, so spent quite a bit of time away from the gym, and, you know, had Christmas, enjoyed my Christmas, and then I've just kind of literally this week started getting back into it fully.
Awesome, man. So I guess that leads on really nicely. Like, I think do you know what, man? I again, like, having that clarity is amazing. It just makes you feel so content, and it feels like you said, you feel hungry for it again. Yeah, like you said, like that's what I fucking love, and you're ready for it. I guess going into this year, then, so it's quite nice. 4th of Jan. That's it. Happy New Year, everyone. What's next, man? What's next? Like, what's the year looking like for you?
Largely a big part of my focus now is like it's at the same time as me getting clarification as an athlete and gaining the confidence as an athlete. Actually, I really gained confidence in myself as a coach as well. I've always been quite reserved, you know, and I look at some of these other people who are far better at social media than me, and I'm like, God, I wish I could. Reality is, you know, there's not many other coaches around who've got the results I have either. You know, this is my 2nd year coaching athletes on the Olympia stage myself. You know, I actually coached an athlete I competed against on this Olympia stage.
Yeah.
I took him from amateur to pro into the Olympia stage this year. Last year, I had 2 girls on the Olympia stage. You know, I turned several clients pro in the last 2 years. So I'm really kind of gaining that confidence in myself as a coach as well. So I'm really looking forward this year to taking that up another level.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited to really push that aspect of things. So that's kind of my main focus at the moment, because, you know, I tick the boxes daily as an athlete myself, no problem. You know, so I know, now working with Cal as well, we have everything laid out, so I know what I need to do when I need to do it. So that's all taking care of itself now, and I really have a lot of time to focus on my coaching. So that's kind of my main priority. Like in the regards to myself, then it's I've got, so there's an 8-week phase now where, you know, just looking after my health, kind of working into training, getting myself nice and strong, getting my, like, foods up really high, looking to, you know, really get my training going, and then we'll push on to the next phase, and looking to compete sort of in the early parts of the summer.
Okay,
we've picked out like 3-4 shows there.
Cool.
Yeah.
And the goal for that, and then obviously the goal for that is to qualify for the Olympia again.
Yeah, like I'm going into this, that show number 1 I'm winning, and there's 2 more shows that I just want to do because I want to travel there.
Yeah, cool. Are they US based, or are they just
there's 2 US based, 1 European based.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, sick. We'll keep that as a surprise. So everyone, you can just follow Darren's Instagram and YouTube, everything like that. Keep it as a surprise so you can document that. No, man, that's absolutely amazing. Like, yeah, honestly, it's just incredible to talk to someone very chilled, very humble about what they do. And it's just very clear. Like, you can go on, you can just see that every day, this is just what you do. It's a part of your life, and that's it. And you're fucking, you just,
you know, something I've really taken this year is, you know, you can be a great bodybuilder, and I feel like I've kind of done an injustice to people over the last couple of years, like saying you got to be all in to achieve greatness in this, because I've been such a robot. Yes, to an extent, you have to be all in, but you have to be all in when you need to be.
Yeah.
Something I've really taken this year, and the people that I draw inspiration from them, but because I think they're the people who are inspirational, because, you know what, they can do this and still be something other than a bodybuilder. And it's guys like Ryan Terry. I look at him and I'm like, you know, he's one of the best in the world, but he's a great father and he's a great husband, and you know, he lives a life outside of bodybuilding, and you know what, he doesn't feel the need to be in everyone's face all the time promoting himself, you know. I was actually just speaking to him today about it, you know, and had a good chat with him. And when I was in Vegas, I've known Flex Lewis a long time, and he took me aside for a while and spoke to me and Becky about, like, you know, to be a great bodybuilder, yes, you have to be all in and you have to do everything like this, but you only have to do it when it needs to be done. And he's like, yeah, you go to the gym that day. He's like, but your rest day, he was like, his whole career, his rest day was, you weren't allowed to say the word bodybuilding to him. He was like, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, I look at these guys and they're not flash, they're not in your face, they're not like this, they just are good family men, good husbands, normal down to earth guys, and you know, at the top of their career. And that's, you know, in 5-6 years, that's the way I want people to see me. I don't want to be, you know, one of these flash in your face fancy bodybuilders, you know, like showing off on Instagram with watches and cars and stuff. I just like people to see me as a normal guy and, you know, a family man.
But, mate, you've already achieved that, so you're all good. But I know exactly what you mean, and I think you can become very absorbed into it, because bodybuilding, I get what, I fully understand. Like, bodybuilding's very bro. It's very bro sort of thing, and it feels like you have to have this meat. Like, it does have that stereotype, doesn't it? Like meathead mentality sort of thing. But actually,
yeah, like, it's totally not me. Like, and I've tried to put on that persona, and I've tried to be that. It's not me. I'm a boring guy, to be perfectly honest. When I leave the gym, I love nothing more than to come home, get my client work done, and you know, when it comes like 4 or 5 p.m., I'm like, right, I'm on the couch in my shorts.
Yeah, PJ's on, man. 5 p.m.
my dog snuggled into me one side, my wife there, and just watching Netflix, and I'm in bed by 9 p.m. You know, that's me.
Yeah. No, and mate, honestly, like, it's lovely, because I think it's obviously you see yourself of kind of what you were and how you've evolved, but what everyone sees on a day-to-day basis is truly that, and it's amazing, man. It's absolutely amazing, the relationship you have. It's obviously, because even the dogs jump up on the stories and all this sort of stuff. It's great. Like, I think it's Becky's check-in pictures and stuff like that. You just got the dogs going in between the legs and things like that. It's great.
That's the way our house is, you know. There's lots of our dogs, but they're probably outside the door now waiting for me.
But it's like you said, it's like, at the end of the day, we're in this because we love it, and it's the longevity game with everything in life. I'm like, if you go at 100 miles an hour, you might do it for 5 years, great. But at the end of the day, to really achieve greatness in anything in life, success, I'm like, you got to do it for 10, 15. So actually just run at 80, 90%. And like you say, when prep comes, cool, go 100 miles an hour, and then just pull back, sort of thing. Like you said, it's that's
what I'm teaching myself this year, is like, right, I need to have a bit more downtime, you know, because I spent life, and if I look at it, like, and a couple of people have said it to me, and they're like, when they seen how hard the end of this prep was for me and where I took my body to, they're like, yeah, because you prepped for 2 years.
Yeah, that's the difference, I think. But also, like again, because you've, in a sense, what you've achieved in a very short time frame, kind of from 2018, 19, right, up until now, it's not long on the bodybuilding scale of things.
No,
but you kind of had to do it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was like, you never sit back and regret it, because you're like, well, actually,
no, definitely not. It's kind of set me up on all the mistakes I've made, and it's just being, you know, I've learned from, and it's set me up to be where I am now. And it's also, you know what, it puts me in that position, and it's a position I feel and I'm particularly unique in, is as a coach. You know, yes, I have all the education, I've done all of that side of things. I believe I'm a very good coach, technically educated. But where a lot of these other top coaches, you know, I've actually taken myself to that top level.
Yeah.
And I've experienced every depth of pain, every, you know, struggle, every emotional pain of prep, you know, the good, the bad, the feeling shit about yourself, placing badly, winning, coming out of things, like all of this. I've experienced all this. So I think that puts me in a particularly unique position to deal with a lot of my clients. And I think that's why a lot of my clients have a lot of respect for me. And, you know, when I say something to them, it holds meaning. You know, if they're struggling on prep, I'm like, hey, at this point, you know, this, and they're like, okay,
yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Also, like, you're just very relatable as well. Like you say, like, you're very relatable, and like you say, like, you've been there, you've been in the trenches, and you do it every day. sort of thing. So actually,
I want to be as honest and transparent with people about everything about it. You know, I'm never going to hold back about any point of it. You know, I'm not afraid to say, like, I had conversations with a couple of my clients, like, yeah, I cried during cardio once or twice. You know, it hurt.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's what I love. Even like, again, like you sent me a lovely message. You sent me multiple lovely messages as well. And I actually screenshotted them because I actually love them so much. It's just like, and then I was like, because actually, like, if anyone reaches out to you and things like that, and do you know what I mean? Like, you are like you say, it's hard to kind of get someone's, that's why I like podcasts, because people can really kind of get their personalities out across and things like that. And generally, man, like, you are a lovely dude. And
I'm just a normal guy. That's
exactly, yeah.
I may look scary sometimes in the gym, and I may make
just don't talk to him mid-set, and you're okay.
But then I'm like, if someone comes up to me mid-set, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm pretty relaxed.
But no, honestly, like, yeah, you're to see you every day is a true inspiration, and actually just be like, okay, cool. Like, it's just lovely to be in that environment, especially being around you as well. So thank you for me as well. So it's absolutely amazing. I guess kind of going into the back end of this podcast, we do have a little bit of a tradition because it's the 1% podcast. What is that one thing, kind of that 1% that's going to help someone move one step further forward tomorrow? What would it be?
I think I'm going to have to be probably a little bit different here in terms of, and not tell people to be like this or be that, but just stay true to yourself. Don't lose yourself, because, and I can say this because that's a mistake I made, was I wasn't, and I did lose myself for a long period of time in this. And it's just know what you want and not what you think others should want.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. Just, yeah, nailed it. Absolutely amazing, man. Spot on. And I guess, where can people stalk you, follow you? What's the best way to kind of get hold of you? All that sort of jazz.
Obviously, in this day and age, the easiest thing is Instagram. Like, I do have a website and stuff like that for coaching, but even when I say that, nobody comes through that. Everyone just comes through my Instagram. So it's my Instagram.
Cool, perfect. All of Darren's Instagrams and all his stuff, I'll put in the links below. I love how people say that. No one's ever turned around. It's always Instagram. I'm waiting for someone to go, here's my phone number.
Yeah.
No one does that.
I do get the odd like message straight through my phone number. I'm like, where did they find my phone number from? And I think it's
that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's odd. Well, to be fair, if it's Dubai, they can just buy it.
That's true.
No, amazing. Honestly, but thank you so much for your time, because I know it's your rest day. So it's probably time for you to get in your PJs and put some Netflix on and chill now. So it's all good.
I'm actually going somewhere with one of my other hobbies. We're going to the Sketch Cafe.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen that on your Instagram. Yeah.
One thing I do love is drawing and stuff. So we go there quite regularly. We haven't been there in a while because at the back end of prep, I was a useless human.
Yeah.
So we're going there now to have a coffee and do some drawing.
Yeah. Guys, keep an eye on his Instagram stories, because he's actually really fucking good at drawing. I've seen some of them. They're really good.
Yeah, it's something I loved growing up. I did art in school. It was a passion of mine. So I do want to get back into it, but I kind of have to force myself to do these things.
Yeah, it's good. No, absolutely amazing, man. Mate, go enjoy the afternoon, and thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for having me on.
No worries.